うん Good evening. Welcome to the Tuesday, January 6th, 2026 meeting of the Monmouth City Council. I will call us to order and ask our city recorder, Phyllis Bowman, for the roll call, please.
Councillor Belts.
Here.
Councillor Carey.
Here.
Councillor Lopez.
Present.
Councillor McKeel.
Here.
Councillor. Hold on. Okay. Councillor Oberst.
I am here.
Councillor Ridgway.
Here.
Mayor Coons. Gotcha.
And just for everyone's information, in the past, as we sat on the dais, we also logged into the Zoom meeting. And we are now have our technology set up that it should not be necessary for us to do that. So we are trying here in the room to not log in. And that's why you will see the face of anyone else who is logged in, and sort of our technology will focus on whoever is speaking, but will not show our individual faces the whole time. But we'll make sure we've got this corrected. Are we ready? Call the roll?
Yeah, good.
You did.
Oh. Yeah, I was up to Mayor Coons. And I thought you said aye.
Okay.
Services.
All right. I'm here as well. All right. And then I would ask Councillor Lopez to lead us in the flag salute, please. And we do have time set aside for public comments, but first we'll get to the consent calendar. Our consent calendar tonight was our last meeting, which was December 16th. Those minutes were included. Were there any additions or corrections?
I move to accept the consent calendar.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye. Right.
And any opposed? Seeing none. So for public comments, this would be for items not on our agenda this evening. We've received nothing in the room. And Phyllis, was anything submitted or is anyone online?
Nothing has been submitted, Mayor Coons.
All right. So our first order of business this evening is a meeting with our Parks and Recreation Board. These are meetings that we hold with our volunteer commissioners and board members, and our staff liaison for this is our Public Works Director, Russ Cooper. Thanks, Russ.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of council. Today, yes, our prepared speaker got a hold of me just a little bit before the meeting and let me know that they were not feeling well and that it was not a good idea for them to show up. But thankfully, I have been participating in this group for the whole year. And so I do have a good sense of what is happening. With me here is Jane Gregg, who if you recall, just a few meetings ago, you moved to have her be on this committee. So as the newest member of our board, I thank her for being here, but also understand that throwing her, everything to talk about doesn't quite make the best of sense. So the board, Park and Rec board members, the chairman is Ryan Knack. Other members are Diane Ostrom, Mike Jewell, Megan Youngs. This year, we've got a couple of couple of new members. Actually, Megan is new this year. Last January, she was appointed to the board. Casey Knopick was appointed in September, and Jane in November. Councilor Ridgway is our council liaison, and he is new with us this year as well. And then I'll just also mention that we have one vacancy still remaining on the board. So if you guys have an opportunity to appoint another wonderful member, that would be great. As I think about the year, I want to recognize that these new appointees are coming on because we had 3 members who, over the course of the prior year, had stepped down. So I wanted to say thank you to Michelle Labreras, Odie Campos, and Mark Medell for their service to the board, some of them for a number of years. And then I'll also, just bragging on this board, I will also say that we have an outstanding board member who has served for 40 years. She was recognized at the annual volunteer dessert. So Diane Ostrom, big hats off for her many years of service on the Park and Rec board. Activities over the past year, we started off in January. Ms. Sabre Jewell attended our meeting. She was working on a concept of a new mural for the back of the Gentlewood's bathroom. That's kind of the welcome to Monmouth sign, and the current one has our old logo, and it's time to look at that. And so I know she was working on that. So she came and got some feedback from the Parks Board. As far as I understand, that process is still in motion, and we're looking forward to seeing where that goes. Early in the year, we also were engaged in some conversations with Western Oregon University about what might a partnership with recreation look like between the city and Western Oregon, and are there opportunities to get residents access into Western recreation facilities, or they've got lots of students, can we build partnerships to help them provide recreation? So it really, what it resulted in was some good dialogue, good information sharing, but nothing solid has come from it. But I think it was a real worthwhile discussion to see what might be out there. One of the board's primary activities, or that I think goes on throughout the year, is their recreation grant program. They solicit for people who want to put on recreational activities in our park system, and they offer grants up to $1,000 for those. And this year they had 6 activities that were awarded grants funds. The Juneteenth celebration had some activities as part of their larger celebration. The farmers market had a kind of a reading program associated with that, and the grant funds were used towards that. Music in the Park art at Music in the Park has been another really good one that we get lots of positive feedback. They awarded a grant for that. Monmouth Has Pride Celebration was awarded money for some activities at their grant, or at their program. There was a foam party. I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to see some of the photos from that, but while not what I think of when I think of recreation, but it was a wild chaos for about 30 minutes. So I'm sure hearts were pumping, and parents were nervous about what's going on, but a real interesting activity. And then we also had a yoga instructor who it was 5 or 6 yoga in the park, kind of teaching basic yoga to folks. That was a big success as well. The board, after, through that process and as they start looking at what to do in 2026, and I think we've shared this with council before, we've had mixed reviews with how many applicants we get, and we talked about what were some of the issues with that. And so as the board has worked through that, they also took on asking the question, do we want to do something different? Should we maybe, instead of soliciting the public and saying what might you want to bring, as a board, should we identify what some of those recreational opportunities are, go find the instructors and use the grant funds to put those on? Obviously, they understood the need that would still have to come back through the budget committee and all of that. But interesting discussion. This year, they went ahead and decided, let's stay the course with what we've been doing. We've made some changes, and let's see how that plays out this year. Every year, the Parks Board is charged with reviewing the parks, and for safety issues, maybe potential needs in the parks, and so on and so forth. So in June, they did their annual tour of our large parks, the Monmouth Recreation Park, Madrona Park, Gentle Woods Park, and Main Street Park. Generally, the comments, there were a number of, I won't say a number of, it seemed like each park at least had a tree or a couple of trees that was unhealthy or actually had already died. So they had identified those. Those have been removed. We've been working with the tree board on identifying those and making sure that we're working to get those replaced. As they were going through the Monmouth Recreation Park, there were comments about, happy about the newly constructed pickleball courts and just the liveliness of that park in the evenings, that it seemed like there's activities there going on a lot. Madrona Park, a couple of trees that needed to be addressed. Gentle Woods Park, they had identified some issues with the drinking fountain that's down by the gazebo, and staff was aware of that. The backstory, someone had poured out their, what do you call those pots that heat food? Anyhow, full of grease and totally plugged it up. So it needed more than just a call to Roto-Rooter. So we worked on that this summer and got that corrected as well. And then Main Street, we had a couple of trees that were hovering right over the playground in the parks that were unhealthy and needed to be removed. But generally, Parks Board thought that the parks looked great, very busy with people enjoying them. One of the other things that we're kind of beginning to discuss, if we start looking to next year and, what activities might the board be working on next year, is a number of our wood signs are starting to show their age, and the local artist who had constructed those and has been maintaining them for us for years has retired. And so the question at hand is, do we stay with the wood signs and find someone else who can maintain them, or is now a time to look at a redesign and have that conversation? So making you aware of possibly some things in the future. Another is that they'll be working on is at Monmouth Recreation Park, lots of improvements going on there, but we've identified that park as a potential location for an all accessible playground. A playground addition is part of the master plan down there. So initiating that process of working with citizen groups, parents of kids who have disabilities, just asking the question, what would make a park work for you? Parks that are all age accessible. We had someone provide a great presentation on, and request for young toddler age areas. And so that process will be going on next year, and the goal of that is to develop a kind of a funding package or a budget for what that improvement might look like. And then they'll continue with their recreation grant program, hopefully next year as well. So with that, I'll ask our newest member if you have things that you want to share.
Well, I just want to say that I'm happy to be a member of the board and member of involved with the city of Monmouth. I think Monmouth does a great job. I'm happy to be a resident here. So
Happy to take any questions.
Questions for Mr. Cooper? Yes.
Councilor Lopez.
And then Counselor Ober.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you both for your delivery of your report. I have a deep affection for our Parks Board and our parks as a whole. And I'm really heartened to hear about development of a fully accessible playground at Monmouth Recreation Park. That's something that we've been talking about for close to a decade, if not more. And I'm glad to hear that it's continued to remain on the priorities list and moving forward. Do you have an idea of, and also I love the concept of, citizen resident input into the design and creation of that. There's a lot of different flavors of, equipment that could fall into that category, and finding the right fit for, our town is critical. Do you have an idea of the timeline of, that engagement, or, potentially the timeline of what we would look at to have that park component up and running?
If I said, I don't know, would that be acceptable?
Absolutely. That's fair.
I think the key is that I foresee at least a year-long process of identifying, the board kind of looking at different equipment and going, we like this, like that, having some public feedback, some surveys. Once we start to get some concepts put together, engaging the community on, I like that, or, whatever that might look like as far as getting feedback from the larger community as well. So I see that at least a year-long project. Once we have a dollar amount, then we can start soliciting, for grants, funding, assistance in that process. So it could be 2 years before it's actually completed. The younger mom who came in and talked about tot lots, equipment, she recognized and kind of made the statement that I recognize that my kids may not be who plays on this, but I believe in it enough that I think it's right for our community.
Madam Mayor, follow up if I may?
Please.
Sounds like it could be a great opportunity for town hall. Thank you. And I'll leave my other commentary for my companions to make.
One of the things that, as the liaison to the tree board, I keep running into is we want to plant trees in your parks. And so I'm wondering if it wouldn't be appropriate to have a joint tour of particularly Madrona at some point, hopefully before Arbor Day, and talk about where trees might go so we can more intelligently address that. So I'll just throw that at you, and you can get together with the tree board staff liaison. I have a meeting coming up on the 15th, and I will drop this on the tree board as well, that it would probably be easier going forward if we talked about it in advance instead of in the middle of planning to plant something. And then the other one that I wanted to, this just came to me today. Somebody told me this, I want to pass it on. The new trees that have been planted in Madrona Park that are in Gentle Woods that have the wire cages around them, they really got hit by the high water. And so just, I don't know if there's anything to be done for them. They're
Yeah, thank you. I was down, kind of reviewing that myself after the flood, and I'm not sure if it was the actual Friends of Gentle Woods or, I mean, honestly, it could have been one of my staff, and I just don't know about their good work. But I do know that a lot of the cages were put back in place, and there was a run through looking at that. So hopefully their survival will not be impacted by that rushing water.
Any other questions for Counselor Carey?
Russ, just to, and Jane, thanks for being on the committee. Thanks for stepping forward. That's appreciated with your experience in particular. So I thought I heard you say that after consideration, the board has decided to go ahead and go with the grant program as it is right now. Yeah, okay. As we ran through that list, there was some of those things were sort of tangentially recreation. They're in the park and they're creating park use, which is good. But I think the recreation piece, and that's not I mean, we got the mini marathon. Okay, that's probably part of that. But I wonder if we couldn't seek out people that might be able to provide disc golf tournament, disc golf course, participatory, cross-country camp, get kids active running during the summer. Wouldn't have to be a competitive thing, but a running group. 3-on-3 basketball. We've got a lot of courts in the area. Some are regulation and others aren't, but there could be something, a lowercase league or a tournament or something that, again, that kids would have the opportunity to participate in. So when that comes back up, I mean, I'd be happy to provide that, some of those suggestions, or if you could make note of that when we get into the following year, not next year, but the following year. And the question that I do have that's more substantive, what's the status of Monmouth Recreation Park and the gazebo and the boardwalk and the restrooms and the dog park?
Yeah, thank you for asking that question because it is a bullet in my presentation. So the Monmouth Recreation Park, the contractor who is under contract to build the bathroom, picnic pavilion, boardwalk, those three main improvements is scheduled to be in here in basically the next month to begin work on the bathroom and the picnic pavilion. The boardwalk, quite a bit of it is located in wetland, and so that will create the need for that component to wait until late spring, early summer for that. But the goal is to have that project finished before the end of June.
All right. Seeing no other questions, thank you for that. Mr. Cooper, you speak about projects next year. My understanding is those will be carried out by someone else. Because I understand that a young man who came to us for a summer job during college is ready to retire from our Public Works Department. Am I correct?
I will always look at Monmouth and think of Monmouth as something, not as a project, but that I will always be invested in this community. And And so even when I talk about projects and vision for the future, it's still as if my stinking hands might be involved in it. But yes, this Monday, met with Rochelle and let her know that as of March 31st, I will be retiring from the city. June of 1990, a young college student up at Western Oregon University saw someone else meandering around on the campus at that time. Prospective students following behind me came up to a pretty scrappy looking building up here on Main Street and met with a guy by the name of Stan Kenyon, who was the city manager at the time. And Stan picks up the phone and he says, "Hey, Gary, I've got a guy that's looking for some summer help. I think you should hire him." So that started, my career with the City of Monmouth, being a temporary seasonal park employee. That afforded me an opportunity each summer as I went to school to do that. Year two, as I had come down to meet with the public works director and had asked about, you got another seasonal with me, say, "Oh yeah, that's great." And I proceeded to back into his truck in the parking lot. And I had to come back into the building sheepishly, but he still, hired me. But all that to say that was the start of my love for the parks and investment in the park system. And I've certainly held on to that for the 36 years that I've been involved with the city of Monmouth. And so I do have a fond place in my heart, shared with Rochelle, that there are some iconic projects that I've had the opportunity to be involved in. And part of what makes them really iconic for me was not that I was involved in the building of it, but seeing the teamwork of various departments and members of the city working together to make those things happen, and obviously council support and just it's bittersweet. That I think that's how I'll end this conversation, and look forward to many more in the future at whatever those functions might be. So my wife and I have no immediate plans to leave Monmouth, but we recognize that life is a journey, and we're excited to continue to do that. So thank you.
Hey, Russ, this is for the last 36 years, not for what's going to happen in 3 months. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And that takes us to our business agenda. Sergeant Strack appears to be here to take us through our OLCC renewals. 36 years, you see, you got it when you start here at the city of Monmouth, buddy, you got something to live up to.
That seems ominous. Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, I'm Sergeant Mike Strack, and it's hard to believe that we have another yearly license review to go over. So as you know, I spend a little bit of time and review the police reports for all of our businesses that hold liquor licenses. And we didn't have any that were any violations of OLCC rules or regulations. As you can see on here, I do still have Jack's Pub on here, mainly because I feel like it's just fair that over the last several years, I always have them on here, and I don't want it to sound like I'm always picking on them. But, as one of our liquor license holders that's kind of more front facing on Main Street, and that usually has a crowd and people tend to see that a lot more, I just feel like it's something that we should talk about and always have an open conversation. And I usually, hear that people have questions about that business because that's what people see. But I also want to, throw them a little bit of good too, and always recognize when maybe they do something right and not always be the bad. So there were a few incidences that we responded to at Jack's Pub. We did have about 5 or 6 DUIs that we can say directly came from there. And I do want to caveat that because sometimes people get a little confused when they hear just 5 or 6 for a whole year. The only time I can actually say it comes from a business is if we either witness them leaving that business, if we have witnesses telling us that, or if there's a self-admission. So as you can see, a lot of people aren't always going to tell us that, hey, I came from this spot. And so there are probably DUIs that come from other businesses, but unfortunately, the ones that we get the most are people that are, after midnight. And this is one of the only businesses that sells liquor that is open after midnight. So with that being said, with the handful that they had, I did want to highlight one. They did have one where they ended up telling someone that they needed to leave for the night because they felt like they were getting a little rowdy and they didn't want him to drive. So they actually had a staff member drive that person home in order to prevent them from driving because they were trying to. On the way back to the bar, this gentleman got in a different car and passed them on the way back to the bar, which they then called him in and had us respond, and then we ended up arresting him for DUI. But they were trying to do the right thing, and they did follow through and get us involved. They also had some new college students in town try to come in and pass some fake IDs, but they actually recognized those right away and called us and allowed us to have a good learning moment for these young individuals. No citations were issued. I think they understood what they did and they actually felt really bad about it. And the bar was gracious and just letting us have a talk with them and making that right. But outside of that, it's kind of, there was a handful of disturbances that were there. But outside of that, I think last year was probably one of their better years that I've seen. And I think that kind of tips more towards the fact that we've been a little bit better at open communication with them. And every time we do respond there, our officers actually talk to the staff and make sure we all have an understanding of what's going on and what we expect and what they expect from us when we show up. So with that being said, obviously you guys have the stuff in front of you for either recommending, not recommending, or no action. But I want to just take a moment if you guys have any questions, and I'd be happy to answer anything that you have.
Councilor McKeel, then Councilor Lopez.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you, Sergeant Strack. Looking at Jack's Pub, I really appreciate that the numbers are down with the DUI. I still think we need to do better if we have still 5 or 6 DUIs that we can identify coming from Jack's Pub. I think being that this is kind of relatively small town, there's probably a regular clientele showing up at Jack's Pub. The regular people that are leaving Jack's Pub after they've had so many drinks is probably common knowledge to the bartender. So I think they need to do better. I actually was going to ask you how many it was because it wasn't in the report. So thank you for the 5 or 6. But looking at the other businesses in town, do we have DUIs that are coming from them as well that you know of, or is it primarily Jack's Pub?
So to be honest, as far as the businesses on the list where people are there drinking and leaving, I'm not positive on that. What I can tell you is there are probably some, yes. But a lot of the times, kind of what officers get trained on when they're in the academy is if you arrest someone for DUI, it's probably not the first time they've ever driven drunk. It's usually 1 in 20, 25 times or whatever the statistic is. So we understand that they're all over, but we can only sit at one spot. And we generally, because of the crowd size, we're usually sitting outside of Jack's Pub because not only can we watch the business, we can also watch the main thoroughfare through town, and then we're splitting duty. Where Rookies is, it's really hard. If we're sitting there, we're sitting on a side street, we're missing all of the major thoroughways, right? Plus, with Rookies, where they're situated, if someone were to leave there, they've got all the back roads to go. Jack's, you got to go onto either Clay Street behind it, or you got to go on Main Street, and then you're hitting 99, and that's where we congregate the most at night. I know the first year or two when Sing Fe turned into more of a bar type scene, we had some coming from there. And I would confidently be able to say that even though we might not have been able to click the box for OLCC because we could prove that they came from there, I know some came from there. But I think the reason the numbers are the way they are is because we pay attention to Jack's for the most part, because we're also trying to sit across from there. They know we're sitting across from there because we're trying to curb the behavior from getting out of control. And then there's also nights where we only have one person working and we can't sit out there. So there's a lot of different factors that come into that. And I would love it for every business to be zero, but I know that's not realistic. But you know, we do the best we can with the numbers we have, and we try to go where the numbers would be. So.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. And thank you very much for your presentation. I'm cautiously encouraged by the reduction in DUI incidents resulting from Jack's Pub. I'm curious if you have any insight into what might be driving that. Is that, like, I guess I'm trying to ask, is this just a blip because enforcement looks different? Are they doing something different at Jack's, or staff doing something different? Do we have any inclination as to what might be driving that change?
So I think every year you could probably point to something different. I think this last year, I feel like there was a little bit of the staff maybe doing a better job of cutting people off, trying to make sure they're not driving, getting them rides, stuff like that. I think a lot of it is, for the most part, because we try to spend the time to do it. Most people know we're sitting, they can see us sitting across the street. We usually sit at the PCL parking lot. It's not like I'm giving away any secrets. They see us. And so I think when we have time to be able to do that, we see a lot more people come out and then walk away. Now, that's not to say they don't come back later if we leave and then try to get their car. But I think it just depends on calls for service when they're coming in. If it's not a heavy call night, then we have more time to sit. That's going to reduce the amount of DUIs coming out of there. But you know, I think every year it's just different, and I don't think there's one thing you can point to. It's just, you know, there's years where we're lower staffing and we just can't sit out there, and it's more of a reactionary, and it's a little bit of both.
Councillor Oberst, and then Councillor Carey.
I'd just like to note that in my experience, every establishment has its own clientele. Sometimes those clientele are radically different from establishment to establishment, and some clientele are more likely to get in trouble, be it the fights that we've seen in the past at Jack's or driving drunk, et cetera, that might not ever occur at some of our other establishments. Mm-hmm. And it's not anything that Jack's is doing right or wrong necessarily. It's the clientele that has settled into going to Jack's. From what you've said this year, it sounds to me like the staff is doing a better job of heading off some of the problems before they turn into problems. So, you know, well, I would, Carol, love to see it at zero. And I also recognize the reality that even the best of folks might one night have one drink too many and get caught at it. And, you know, so, yeah, I'm encouraged. Keep up the good work with them, with their staff, and trying to bring this down each year. Appreciate it.
Madam Mayor, to more tightly frame this conversation, I move to send the OLCC a recommendation to renew all of the liquor licenses listed in this report.
Second.
Thank you, Counselor Carey, for the motion and Counselor Lopez for the second. Was there any additional questions? Counselor McKeel?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So I agree that this is better, but I think you still have the opportunity as a bartender to shut somebody off such that you don't have 5 or 6. Jack's Pub also is really easy to go a back way, so then even go by your cruiser. So now I'm not trying to debate numbers, but at all. But I think while success is good, it's still not enough. And I don't want to be somebody who said, yeah, good job, keep going. And then we have somebody die in a drunk accident. So I think it's still too many that coming out of Jack's Pub.
And I will totally agree with you on that. I'm never gonna say we're ready to go, we're good to go. That's why I still put them in here, even though I felt like I don't have as much to talk about as I have in the past. I still feel like it's a conversation that we need to have because when you look at other establishments and that we don't go to rarely, I mean, if at all, a lot of the times, like Rookies, for example, there's always room for improvement when we still have an establishment that we're going to. And I think we're also right in it's the clientele as well. But I mean, I remember back in the day, and I'm sure you guys too, when we had Main Street Pub, that place was out of control. Like I would say that this is a little bit more, it's not quite as bad as that, but I still think you're right. There's always something that we're not ever going to stop paying attention to them. I'm not going to ever stop bringing them up as long as they still have things going on like that. But I still do think that, that open communication piece has been working, and I think it will continue to work and as long as we stay on top of that.
And I really appreciate the work you're doing. And who's to say that work isn't saving a life for this person who drove the person home? That's remarkable. That's fantastic. But I think the shut-off valve needs to still happen a little earlier. So thank you so much. And please convey that I'm very thankful for above and beyond of taking somebody home, even if they did make a bad decision later. And then actually for that, even saying, no, you're really not going home in your car. So thank you.
All right. And a reminder that this is a required part of the process for the OLCC. However, if we even said, no, we do not want to renew, that's not necessarily something they take into consideration. So this is somewhat of a formality for LCC, but it is important for us as a community to have these discussions. Since 2 of the people responsible for the availability of alcohol in this town are sitting up here, we always want to make sure, Councillor Obers, that
I resemble that remark.
we have these conversations.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Thanks so much for that. Yeah.
All right, Phyllis, could you do the roll call, please, on the motion to send OLCC the recommendation to renew all of the liquor licenses listed in the report?
Counselor Ridgway,
Aye.
Counselor Oberst,
Yes.
Counselor McKeel,
I would approve all except Jack's Pub. If that's a parse out, it's a no.
Counselor Lopez,
Aye.
Counselor Carey,
Aye.
Counselor Belts,
Aye.
motion passes 5-0.
All right, thanks, Sergeant
Thank
Strack.
you, guys.
And that brings us.
So I'm sorry. I voted no. Was it 5-0 or 5-1? Okay, good. I thought I heard a 0 in
All right, and that brings us to the mayor's report, and I will do not have much of a report. I think I hope everyone had a wonderful kind of break and refresh and renew, and here we start the new year. You should all be receiving information on to give input on our goal setting retreat, which is coming up. And I think you will find that I have asked for us to spend a little bit of time on council rules. We actually have a formal document called council rules. And in looking at that, I really feel like it can use some refreshing. Partly because it really just spends a lot of time talking about Robert's Rules of Order, and I don't think that's kind of as critical as how we engage with each other, how the public can engage with us. So I have asked for a little bit of time for that. So be thinking about that to give input on. And then we'll be mentioning again, but we do have our town hall scheduled for January 29th. And we have been working with Chief Haynes. Rochelle and I met with the public safety folks and the president of the university, Jesse Peters. Justin Thorpe, our city attorney, was with us, and talking more about the incident that happened at Western, but really how are we preparing as a community for other potential public disturbances in the future, and what is that communication, and how do we make sure that we both know the expectations of how we're each responding to incidents in general like that. So some really good conversations going on there. And that's all I have. So we have our reports of boards and commissions. Councilor Oberst.
I was remiss last meeting in not reporting that we had a November-December combined senior advisory board meeting at which a certain council liaison made a big batch of chicken gumbo, sausage and shrimp. And I actually got a secondhand report that one member of the advisory board thought she didn't like gumbo. We set her straight. Yeah, that was a nice gathering. And the thing we did there was listen to an AARP webinar about age-friendly communities and tech tools that are being used in those, including one that, sorry, Phyllis, this will put you out of a job. It records, transcribes, and does voice recognition of meetings, and then spits out a transcript at the end. And once it's learned all our voices, it would identify who said what. So I was astounded. And there's, I'm drawing a blank now on the city in California that's using this heavily. It was interesting stuff. The other thing I have to mention is the tree board. We'll have a meeting, as I said, on the 15th, 6:30 at Power and Light. Saturday the 17th, it looks like we're finally going to have the tree planting at the skate park at the S-Curve. We're planning on putting in 3 or 4 trees there that were part of the original design, have not been put in yet, that I think will give much needed and appreciated shade a few years from now. For all the folks using that facility. And the only other thing would be the senior advisory board meets on the 27th at the senior center. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thanks. I know a lot of our boards and commissions weren't meeting much in December, and we heard a great report from Sir Ridgway's Parks and Rec Board. Yes, Councilor Carey and Councilor Oberst will have you. Thank you.
The Planning Commission meets tomorrow evening, 7 p.m. right here in River City. And there'll be a public hearing on 2 variances for what I think could be a pretty significant downtown development coming our way. The variances are, at least one of them might have some public comment and concern, but but probably not. So it's exciting. I'm not going to talk about it right now. It is in the public record, but once the planning commission has dealt with it, the variance piece, then there's some design review that has to be done, but all that will be forthcoming. But anyway, it's good news. It's exciting that we've got that kind of development coming our way, we hope. Anyway, that's tomorrow night, 7 PM.
Great, thanks. Counselor Belts, did you have anything for us? Okay, I just keep forgetting to check on you there. Okay. And then that will bring us to our city manager's report. Rochelle.
Thank you, Mayor. Just in regards to the strategic goal planning, so you should have an email, the mayor mentioned it, but just to let you know that you're going to need to book directly with her a 30-minute interview. So if you could do that as soon as possible for over the next 2 weeks, that would be fantastic. Per Wade Carey, our Monmouth Power and Light Director, the first meeting of the Climate Action Advisory Group has been scheduled during this month. So that's going. An update on the ODOT ADA compliance project. So there are several phases to the project. Phase 1 was the easier ramps that were completed this fall. There are still 2 more phases, and currently ODOT is working through the design of that. So they'll be coming back. So I want to make sure everybody understands it's not completed yet. So there's that. Love Local Scratch-Its are back in February. The City of Monmouth and MBA will distribute Scratch-It cards that offer discounts of $1, $5, $10, and $20 for any purchases of 5 or more at participating businesses. Similarly, the City of Independence and IDA will also run a related promotion to encourage local spending in both communities. And then I wanted to give you an update in regards to, we're all aware that our wonderful city recorder, Phyllis Bowman, is retiring in March. So I conducted an internal interview process in November and December, and apologize I didn't update you at the last council meeting. But Pam Dornbush, who's currently in finance, has accepted the position. So she'll officially start March 1st. And have a month with Phyllis, but up until then, they'll be meeting on a weekly basis to kind of go over that. There's a lot of information in 21 years of being the city recorder, so we're looking at that. Also, just so you know, because Russ has now announced that he's retiring the same day, the 2 of them decided today that they would be celebrating together. So we had already gotten it booked. So on March 31st at 2 p.m. here in council chambers, we'll have a reception for both Phyllis and Russ. Party. Just 2 more things. Senator Merkley's town hall is this Friday at Western. 12:30 to 1 is a local leaders meeting, and then 1 to 2 is the town hall. So if you want to attend, you would need to RSVP directly to Gustavo. And we've sent many emails just to make sure everybody gets there. We have publicly noticed the event as well, so we're good to go there. And then MLK Day of Service is January 19th from 9 to noon. And gathering at Monmouth Senior Center at 9 a.m. And so there's a flyer with a QR code to sign up, but if you're interested in volunteering, let Suzanne know. Right? And that's all I have. Yep. That's okay.
Do you have any suggestion? I'm going to be at Merkley's Town Hall. The electeds are on the front end, and then later in the regular session.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'd appreciate it, and I think we probably all would if there were any concerns that you would like to have. You would plan to voice, or you'd like us to voice relative to federal interaction, federal funding, all of those sorts of things. I at least would be happy to be a spokesman for you should you not be in attendance.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much.
All right. In our packet, there was some more information about a letter from Charter Communication.
Yes.
And spectrum pricing.
So we wanted to put that into the packet so that you would be aware of that there's a change with a rate increase that will affect residents. And so that's why we added it to the packet along with a thank you letter regarding the Tall Cop event that was done. So I don't know if in the past these types of changes for Charter have been communicated or whatever, but I thought because this was a rate increase that you would want to be aware, and as well as residents.
No, that's great. I just wondered if you were intending to report on it at all. Okay, great. All right, thank you very much. That does take us to council comments. And if we can keep those brief, because we do have an urban renewal meeting after this tonight. The one comment I wanted to make, and I, I hate that I've had to do this a lot lately. Our community has lost another great leader and volunteer. Steve Mosier has been a member of the Monmouth Independence community since he was a resident student firefighter for us. He has been on the school board. He has been a mainstay for the Lions Club. He has been a Boy Scout leader. He used to actually be the one who would go over and clean out the pool every summer so that the YMCA could open their swimming pool. And he has the biggest heart and leaves behind a family who has also given a lot to our community. And his services will be held this Saturday, but this is a big loss for the Central School District, for many of the groups in our community, and for many of us personally. So any other announcements or comments? Councillor Lopez.
Madam Mayor, before I give my comments, I just want to thank you for sharing that. And I recognize that this news is difficult for many to hear. Out of respect for the loss of the family and for our community's loss, I'd suggest that we can maybe have just a brief moment of silence. Thank you for joining me in a moment. Thank you. I had prepared some commentary, but I think I'll leave that for another day. I would like to just briefly share that over my holiday travels, I had an opportunity to tour the the drinking water system of another town. Yes, I packed that into visiting family. Got some time with the mayor of Cedar City, Utah, and was able to tour their drinking water facilities in Wellfield. And it was quite fascinating to see how different communities and different geographies are, dealing with this common problem. I was able to share with him a little bit of the work that we're doing here, and I'm just excited to see some developments in that space come the new year. So I'll leave that there and conclude my commentary for tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you. I will entertain a motion to adjourn the city council. What?
I move we adjourn.
All right, it's been moved. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, we are adjourned. And does anybody need a 5-minute break, or can we move right into urban renewal? We're going to move right into urban renewal. So I would like to call to order the Tuesday, January 6th meeting of the Monmouth Urban Renewal Agency and ask Phyllis for the roll call, please.
Ms. Belts?
Here.
Mr. Carey?
Here.
Mr. Lopez?
Present.
Ms. McKeel?
Here.
Mr. Oberst?
Yes.
Mr. Ridgway?
Here.
Ms. Kuntz?
Present. And we do also have time for public comment for items not on the agenda. and I don't see any submitted for that. So that will take us to the consent calendar, which includes the minutes of our Urban Renewal Agency meeting of December 2nd.
Move approval of the consent calendar.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Oberst, for the motion and Ms. McKeel for the second. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Great. We have two exciting opportunities tonight to assist local businesses and properties in our community. So we're going to call Suzanne Duffner up to introduce these items.
Thank you, Chairwoman Coons, and good evening, members of the Urban Renewal Agency. My name is Suzanne Duffner. I'm the Community Economic Development Director for the City of Monmouth, and here to present a couple of urban renewal grant requests to you. So we're on a little bit of a roll. We had one last month, and so it's great to see these budgeted funds getting out there to benefit our businesses. So the first grant request is for property located at 159 Main Street West, so just behind us here off the alley. It was formerly occupied by Maui Melts Candy Shop. And the general assistance grant request is for funding to assist in the remodeling of that space to be able to accommodate a farmer's market stand and also an eatery, so making it more into a restaurant space. So along with that change of use, there are some changes that are needed to make the kitchen be able to accommodate that and facilitate the access and the needed plumbing for the equipment in that building. So that is what the grant request funds would be paying for. There's a list of 6 items there in the report: plumbing upgrades, some changes to the secondary access stairwell, some structural wall improvement, constructing a checkout counter and dining bar, upgrading installing commercial grade flooring, and some electrical upgrades to be able to accommodate the use. So the total estimated cost of the project is $91,813. Their grant request is $15,000, so they have well exceeded the 50% grant match in this instance. A lot of leverage there. There is a cost estimate for those improvements that's been submitted with the application from a licensed general contractor to itemize those various costs. In terms of the grant approval criteria, we look at, is the project consistent with our goals and objectives of the Urban Renewal District Plan? And one of those objectives is to promote development of a unified and cohesive downtown Main District. And that includes doing infrastructure and building improvements to create a vital downtown Main Street corridor. So the project is consistent with that objective by allowing a building to be upgraded and occupied by a new restaurant eatery building space, which will also result in some additional employment and leveraging quite a bit of private investment, as I'd mentioned, in the match that's being provided in this instance. So a lot of positive economic impact. It's also a great gathering space to encourage community and visitors to come into our downtown, spend time, spend money, enjoy themselves. So very excited about that. You have in your packet a copy of the application, some pictures of the existing building. There's a sample motion when you're ready for that. In terms of financial implications, we budgeted $45,000 in total this fiscal year for urban renewal grants. So we've issued one of those, I believe, so far. And so we do have funds available to grant approval of this particular grant request and still have some funding left over. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions. We do have the applicant, the business owners here this evening as well, in case there's questions that I'm not able to answer.
Questions, Councilor Carey. Yes, Mr. Carey, excuse me.
No counselor here, all Mr. 159, is that address, is that front onto the alley? Or is that front onto Main Street?
It does. It fronts on the alley as the main primary entrance. So it's where Maui Melts used to be. So there's the
Yeah.
dance studio. I think that's 157. If I
Yeah.
remember correctly, that fronts Main Street. So it's that new space with the patio, the concrete patio behind there. And then there would be a stairway entrance off of the east-west alley. So there's the north-south alley that we have the Monmouth Alley pedestrian improvement park improvements to. That's the primary entrance into the building. But yeah.
Approximately, what's the square footage of the facility?
Oh, that's a great question, and I might have to rely on the applicant. So, oh, okay. You want to come up and, and introduce yourself on the slide? Oh, yeah, perfect.
Thank you. If you could please introduce yourself and answer questions.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm Eden Olson. I have Lucky Crow Farm here in Monmouth, so I've been growing vegetables for farmers markets and CSA and local restaurant accounts for 8 years now.
I'm Lindsay Darling. My first restaurant in town was actually in Independence, the Valkyrie Wine Tavern. I was the chef there. And I've been running Eat Crow Supper Club for the past 2 years, in addition to other catering events. So,
Okay, so the question was square footage. And the reason I'm asking that, it's in some ways none of my business, but on the other hand, this would suggest, how broad the use might be. I mean, what all you might be able to do, and that it's a curiosity thing.
Yeah, so it's 600 square feet total. And that will include seating 31 seats, as well as a farm stand space. So part of that will be a restaurant where people can come dine in or take out. And then part of it will also be utilized as with a back entrance for citizens to be able to purchase local produce, local meats, local dairy products, various producers that we have contacts with to have a little market space for local food.
So that would be retail and sort of in the back. Would you, because you're a farm stand, would you have any access and be able to, and this is a Suzanne question, use the alley for retail, selling of fresh goods and so on? The alley was a parklet. I'm sorry. Yes. Because I mean, that would again draw more people to that space.
Are you talking about using the parklet for additional farmers market stand space or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is a cool possibility. We could explore that. Yeah, we've already had some correspondence with the applicants about use of some outdoor dining space in the alley when it's nice weather. That is part of our master plan for the alley redesign. We kind of envisioned it on the other end of the alley based on previous ideas of what might go in there. So just kind of, flipping that a little bit, but we will be working with applicants on like a written agreement because that is an encroachment into the public right-of-way space and some terms of the use of that and release of liability if there's injuries. So I mean, to get back to your original question, I do think there are opportunities for partnerships, activities, events, things that will bring people to our downtown. Our downtown plan does identify the desire for a farmer's market in Monmouth. So lots of great possibilities there.
Other questions? Yes, Mr. Ober.
Not a question so much as a comment. I think of all this whole application, the thing I love best is the Double Up Food Bucks program that'll give a 50% discount to SNAP card holders. That's a nice piece of community assistance. I don't know a better word. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that sort of key to our business plan is creating a community space that also provides healthy and affordable options for people in town. And we're thinking college students, we're thinking, you know, low income community members, really a space where everyone can have lunch and afford to do that, you know, multiple times a week. So.
And not seeing anything from Ms. Belts. All right, and there is a motion in your packet.
I would move to approve the general assistant grant application for 1/2 of the eligible project expenses in an amount not to exceed $15,000 for the commercial building remodel located at 159 Main Street West.
Second.
And I'm just going to clarify because we're not doing 1/2 of the eligible expenses.
Up to 15. Up to 15,000.
It does say up to 15, but just.
That is correct. The microphone moves easier.
And I think I included that in my motion, but if I didn't consider it included.
You did, but I just want to clarify that we are actually not covering 1/2 of this. All right. Any other questions or discussion? Phyllis, can you call the roll, please?
Ms. Coons,
Aye.
Mr. Ridgway,
Aye.
Mr. Oberst,
Yes. Yes.
Ms. McKeel,
Yes.
Mr. Lopez,
Aye.
Mr. Carey,
Aye.
Ms. Belts.
Yes.
Motion passes 7-0.
All right. Thank you very much. We are very excited about this. So that's wonderful. Yay. All right. And now we get a chance to do more good. I love it. All right.
Tomatoes this summer, yay.
Yay, tomatoes. All right. And Susan?
All right, rolling into grant number 2 tonight. We have another general grant assistance request, also in the downtown area. This is for property located at 207 Main Street West. It's the corner 2-story building, the southwest corner, I guess, of Monmouth and Main. So just right next door to the St. Hilda's project that we looked at last time, the last grant request. And this particular grant request is to do some work to remove some very large trees that have kind of outgrown their space and do corresponding sidewalk work around that to be able to eliminate a pedestrian tripping hazard and then also a hazard for the roots that are growing under the building, inside the building. So the owners are exploring the possibility of a larger remodel of that building space as well. So it's very excited. This is what Urban Renewal was created to facilitate redevelopment opportunities for that. So this is kind of the first step in that larger redevelopment process to get the property ready. There are some photos in there so you can see just how large the trees are and the damage that they're causing. There's also an estimate from a tree service company on the expense to remove the trees and then from a concrete company to do the sidewalk work. There's a range given or a discount if both trees are removed at the same time. So the way the grant approval motion is written is that it would be 1/2 of the grant expense. In this case, they're asking the upper level of that is $5,150. If they get the discount, then it would be $4,750. So we do have grant funds available still to cover that in this budgeted fiscal year. The proposed project is also consistent with the goals and objectives of our urban renewal plan to improve the infrastructure in our downtown and lead to building improvements. So Staff is recommending approval of that, and we do have the building owner in the audience with us this evening if there's some further questions. And with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
None.
Just a comment, this is precisely the type of thing that urban renewal dollars ought to be spent towards, in my opinion. We spend a lot of urban renewal dollars on things we don't see that go underground and are important. But these are things that can clearly renew that corner, at least the beginning of it. So good on you guys. And I think this is a nice step in the right direction and to dress up that corner, whatever you end up doing in the end. So again, to frame the discussion, I'm going to move approval of general assistance grant application for 1/2 of the eligible project expenses in an amount not to exceed $5,150 for the hazardous tree removal and sidewalk repair work located at 207 Main Street West.
I would second that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Carey, for the motion and Mr. Oberst for the second. So any other questions or? Seeing none, I will ask Phyllis for the roll call on the motion, please.
Mr. Lopez,
Aye.
Mr. Oberst,
Yes.
Ms. Belts,
Yes.
Mr. Carey,
Aye.
Mr. Ridgway,
Aye.
Ms. McKeel,
Yes.
Ms. Coons.
Aye.
Motion
All right,
passes
both
7-0.
of those grants are approved. Thank you, everybody. This
Thank
is
you.
exciting to see. Yeah, exactly. This kind of project that it's not a lot of money, but it's really going to make a difference.
And I just want to comment, this is as John said, this is the kind of thing that urban renewal funds are meant for. And both of these projects, you put these two together, and this can have a major impact on this end of Main Street, which is what we're trying to do. So thank you both for coming in with these two projects. Good stuff.
And with that, I would entertain a motion to adjourn the Urban Renewal Agency.
I move to adjourn.
Thank you, Ms. McKeel. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 And seeing none opposed, we are adjourned.